In the scorching heat of Afghanistan's Helmand province, where death lurked behind every sand dune and the enemy's bullets sang deadly lullabies through the desert air, nobody expected the quietest member of SEAL Team 7 to become a legend. They called her just a medic, those 3 words that would later echo with bitter irony through the halls of Naval Special Warfare Command. Sarah Mitchell never asked to be a hero. She never dreamed that her steady hands, trained to save lives, would one day grip a Barrett .50 caliber sniper rifle and change the course of a mission that went horribly wrong. She certainly never imagined that a single shot, fired in desperation, calculated in precision, and delivered with the kind of cold determination that separates the living from the dead, would earn her a place in military history. But, on that fateful day when everything fell apart, when her team was pinned down and outgunned, when the very SEALs who had doubted her capabilities lay bleeding in the sand, Sarah would prove that sometimes the most unlikely person carries the biggest surprise. Sometimes the one they underestimate becomes the one who saves them all. This is the true story of how a Navy medic grabbed a fallen sniper's rifle and shocked everyone, including herself. Sarah Mitchell had always been different from other girls her age. While her classmates in small-town Nebraska spent their Friday nights at football games and shopping malls, Sarah could be found in her father's garage, carefully cleaning and maintaining his hunting rifles. Her father, a Vietnam veteran turned high school history teacher, had taught her to shoot when she was barely tall enough to hold a rifle steady. What started as weekend bonding became something much more significant. Sarah discovered she had a natural gift that even seasoned hunters envied. The first sign of her extraordinary ability came during her junior year of high school. The annual county shooting competition had always been dominated by local ranchers and their sons, men who had spent decades perfecting their marksmanship. Sarah entered almost as an afterthought, encouraged by her father who believed she needed to test her skills against real competition. The veterans at the range watched with amused tolerance as the 17-year-old girl stepped up to the firing line, her blonde hair tied back in a simple ponytail, wearing jeans and her father's old hunting jacket. 3 hours later, Sarah had shattered every existing record in the competition. Her shots grouped so tightly that the range master had to use a magnifying glass to verify the measurements. The old-timers who had been chuckling behind their coffee cups fell silent as they examined her target. One weathered rancher, a man who had never been beaten in 20 years of competition, simply shook his head and muttered that he had never seen anything like it. Sarah's natural steadiness, combined with an almost supernatural ability to read wind patterns and adjust for distance, marked her as something special. But Sarah never saw shooting as her calling. For her, it was simply something she was good at, like some people were good at math or music. Her real passion lay elsewhere, in helping people. She had decided early in high school that she wanted to become a nurse, drawn to medicine by her deep desire to heal and comfort others. Her shooting skills were just a hobby, something she did with her father on weekends, not something she imagined would ever define her life. After graduating as valedictorian of her small high school class, Sarah enrolled in the nursing program at the University of Nebraska. She threw herself into her studies with the same intensity she had once applied to perfecting her shooting stance. Anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, she absorbed it all with an eager mind that impressed even her most demanding professors. Her clinical rotations revealed another natural talent. Sarah remained calm under pressure in ways that amazed the experienced nurses supervising her training. During a particularly challenging rotation in the emergency department, Sarah encountered her first real crisis. A construction worker had been brought in after falling from scaffolding, his injuries severe and his vital signs rapidly deteriorating. While other nursing students might have frozen or called for help, Sarah stepped forward with steady hands and a clear mind. She worked alongside the trauma team with precision that belied her inexperience, anticipating needs before they were voiced and maintaining perfect composure even as the situation grew more desperate. The attending physician later commented that he had rarely seen such natural instincts in someone so young. It was during her final semester of nursing school that Sarah's life took an unexpected turn. A Navy recruiter had come to speak to students about military nursing opportunities, and something in his presentation captured her imagination. He spoke about serving something larger than yourself, about using medical skills to help those who put their lives on the line for others. The idea of combining her healing abilities with service to her country resonated deeply with something inside her. Sarah's decision to join the Navy surprised everyone who knew her. Her friends couldn't understand why someone with her academic record and peaceful nature would choose military service. Her father, despite his own military background, worried about his daughter entering a world that was still largely dominated by men. Her professors tried to convince her to pursue civilian nursing, arguing that her talents would be wasted in the military. But Sarah had made up her mind with the same quiet determination that had characterized every important decision in her life. Basic training at Great Lakes Naval Training Center was unlike anything Sarah had ever experienced. The physical demands pushed her to her limits, but she refused to quit even when her body screamed for rest. The mental challenges tested her resolve, but she drew on the same inner strength that had carried her through years of academic excellence. Her drill instructors, initially skeptical of the small-town girl who spoke softly and carried herself with almost scholarly grace, gradually began to recognize something special in her character. It was during weapons training that Sarah's exceptional marksmanship skills first drew attention from military instructors. The standard Navy rifle training was designed to ensure basic competency rather than develop expert shooters, but Sarah's performance immediately stood out. Her shots consistently found the center of targets that other recruits struggled to hit at all. The range instructor, a gruff petty officer who had seen thousands of recruits pass through his courses, pulled Sarah aside after one particularly impressive session. He asked about her background, and, when Sarah mentioned her civilian shooting experience, his eyebrows raised with interest. He had her demonstrate with different weapons, and each time the result was the same, precision that bordered on the impossible. Word of the recruit with exceptional shooting abilities began to spread through the training command, eventually reaching the attention of special operations recruiters who were always on the lookout for individuals with unique skill sets. After completing basic training and earning recognition as the honor graduate of her company, Sarah proceeded to Navy Hospital Corpsman School. Here, she would learn the advanced medical skills that would make her invaluable to combat units. The corpsman training was intensive and demanding, covering everything from battlefield trauma care to advanced life support procedures. Sarah excelled in every aspect of the training, but it was her performance during combat simulation exercises that truly set her apart. The simulations were designed to test how well corpsmen could function under the stress of combat conditions. Loud explosions, simulated gunfire, and the chaos of battlefield conditions were meant to overwhelm students and teach them to maintain focus despite extreme stress. While other students struggled with the overwhelming sensory input, Sarah seemed to thrive in the chaotic environment. Her medical procedures remained precise and methodical even as simulated artillery rounds exploded around her training area. Her instructors noted something unusual about Sarah's performance under stress. Rather than becoming flustered or overwhelmed, she seemed to enter a state of heightened focus that allowed her to process multiple streams of information simultaneously. She could monitor a patient's vital signs while coordinating evacuation procedures and maintaining awareness of tactical situations around her. This ability to multitask under extreme pressure would later prove invaluable in ways no one could have predicted. During her final field exercise at Corpsman School, Sarah's unique combination of medical skills and marksmanship ability caught the attention of a visiting instructor from the Special Operations Medical Training Center. He was evaluating students for potential advancement to more specialized training programs, looking for individuals who might have the rare combination of technical skills and mental toughness required for special operations support. The instructor, a veteran Navy SEAL medic with multiple combat deployments, watched Sarah work during a complex casualty simulation. He observed how she maintained perfect medical protocols while directing other students, how she remained calm when the scenario suddenly escalated, and how she adapted quickly when equipment failed or situations changed. But what really caught his attention was an offhand comment from the range instructor about Sarah's extraordinary shooting ability. After the exercise, the SEAL medic approached Sarah with a proposition that would change her life forever. He explained that special operations units were always in need of highly skilled corpsmen who could function effectively in the most demanding environments. He mentioned that her combination of medical expertise and marksmanship skills made her an ideal candidate for advanced training that would eventually lead to assignment with elite units. Sarah listened to the offer with growing excitement and trepidation. She had joined the Navy to serve and to use her medical skills to help others, but she had never imagined herself working with special operations forces. The instructor explained that SEAL teams and other special operations units often operated in remote locations where traditional medical support was unavailable. They needed corpsmen who could provide life-saving care under the most extreme conditions while also contributing to mission success in other ways. The decision to accept advanced special operations medical training was not made lightly. Sarah understood that it would mean months of additional training, followed by assignments that would be far more dangerous than traditional Navy medical positions. But she also recognized that this path would allow her to use all of her skills, both medical and tactical, to make the greatest possible difference in the lives of those who served on the front lines. Her acceptance into the Special Operations Medical Training Pipeline marked the beginning of a journey that would test every aspect of her character and abilities. The training would push her beyond limits she didn't know existed, forge her into something harder and more capable than she had ever imagined possible, and ultimately lead her to a moment in the mountains of Afghanistan where everything she had learned would be put to the ultimate test. As Sarah packed her belongings for the next phase of training, she couldn't have known that she was preparing for a destiny that would make her legendary among the special operations community. She was simply a young woman from Nebraska who wanted to serve her country and help others, carrying skills that seemed unrelated but would eventually combine in ways that would save lives and earn the respect of the most elite warriors in the American military. The transformation from small-town nursing student to special operations medic was about to begin, setting the stage for events that would unfold on a mountainside thousands of miles from home, where Sarah's quiet competence would become the difference between life and death for an entire SEAL team. The Special Operations Medical Training Center in North Carolina looked nothing like what Sarah had expected. Instead of the sterile medical facility she was accustomed to, she found herself staring at a collection of weathered buildings surrounded by dense forest, obstacle courses, and training areas that looked more like war zones than educational facilities. The handful of other students who had been selected for the program looked equally uncertain as they gathered for their first briefing. Master Chief Peterson, the lead instructor, was a man whose very presence commanded respect. His withered face bore the scars of multiple combat deployments, and his eyes held the kind of intensity that came from years of operating in the world's most dangerous places. As he addressed the small group of students, his voice carried the weight of hard-earned experience and absolute authority. He explained that the next 6 months would transform them from ordinary Navy corpsmen into something entirely different. They would learn advanced trauma care techniques that went far beyond traditional medical training. They would master tactical skills that would allow them to operate effectively in combat environments. Most importantly, they would develop the mental toughness and adaptability that special operations demanded from every member of the team. The first weeks of training were a brutal introduction to a new reality. Sarah's days began before dawn with physical training that pushed her body to its absolute limits. Running with heavy medical packs across unforgiving terrain, carrying simulated casualties through obstacle courses, and performing complex medical procedures while exhausted became daily routines that tested her resolve. The medical training itself was unlike anything she had encountered in civilian nursing school or basic corpsman training. The instructors taught techniques for treating massive trauma in austere environments where traditional medical equipment was unavailable. Sarah learned to perform emergency surgery using improvised tools, to manage multiple critical patients simultaneously, and to make life or death decisions with incomplete information and limited resources. What truly set this training apart was its integration with tactical skills. Sarah found herself learning to move silently through dense vegetation, to camouflage herself effectively, and to maintain situational awareness while treating patients under simulated enemy fire. The instructors emphasized that special operations medics were not just healers, they were integral members of combat teams who needed to contribute to mission success while fulfilling their medical responsibilities. The marksmanship training at the Special Operations School was far more advanced than anything Sarah had experienced. While her natural shooting ability had impressed instructors at previous schools, here she encountered a level of precision and tactical application that challenged even her exceptional skills. The instructors taught advanced techniques for engaging targets at extreme ranges, shooting in adverse weather conditions, and maintaining accuracy while under stress. Sarah's reputation as an exceptional marksman spread quickly among the instructor staff. During one particularly challenging exercise, she was required to engage targets at distances exceeding 800 meters while providing medical care to a simulated casualty. Most students struggled to balance the competing demands of the scenario, either compromising their medical care or failing to engage threats effectively. Sarah managed both tasks with a precision that impressed even the most experienced instructors. Her ability to compartmentalize and focus under extreme stress became legendary among her classmates. During one memorable training scenario, explosive charges were detonated around her position while she performed a complex airway procedure on a training mannequin. While other students flinched or lost their focus, Sarah continued her work with steady hands, completing the procedure successfully before engaging simulated enemies with precise rifle fire. The psychological aspects of the training proved just as challenging as the physical demands. Sarah underwent extensive stress inoculation designed to prepare her for the mental challenges of combat operations. She learned to function effectively while sleep-deprived, to maintain decision-making capacity under extreme pressure, and to cope with the emotional trauma that inevitably accompanied combat medical care. One particular exercise tested her ability to make the hardest decisions a combat medic could face. She was presented with a scenario involving multiple casualties with varying degrees of injury, limited medical supplies, and time constraints that made treating everyone impossible. The exercise forced her to apply triage principles in their most brutal form, deciding who could be saved and who would have to be left to die. Sarah's approach to this exercise revealed the depth of her character development during training. Rather than being paralyzed by the impossible choices, she methodically assessed each casualty, allocated resources based on clinical judgment rather than emotion, and executed her plan with unwavering focus. The instructors noted that her decisions were not only medically sound but demonstrated the kind of leadership qualities that special operations teams valued in their members. As the training progressed, Sarah began to understand that she was being prepared for something beyond traditional medical support. The instructors gradually introduced advanced tactical skills that went far beyond what typical corpsmen learned. She was taught basic demolitions, communications procedures, and intelligence-gathering techniques. The message was clear: special operations medics were expected to be versatile operators who could contribute to missions in multiple ways. The weapons training intensified as Sarah progressed through the program. In addition to mastering various rifle systems, she learned to operate crew-served weapons, explosives, and specialized equipment used by special operations forces. Her instructors were particularly impressed with her ability to quickly master new weapon systems, often achieving expert qualification after minimal training. During a particularly challenging exercise involving long-range precision shooting, Sarah's performance caught the attention of visiting SEAL instructors who were evaluating the program. The scenario required students to engage multiple targets at varying distances while coordinating with a simulated team and providing medical support to wounded teammates. Sarah's ability to seamlessly transition between roles, marksman, medic, and team coordinator, demonstrated exactly the kind of versatility that special operations units prized. Her medical skills continued to develop alongside her tactical abilities. Sarah learned to perform procedures that were typically reserved for surgeons, working under conditions that would challenge even experienced physicians. She mastered techniques for treating penetrating trauma, managing massive hemorrhage, and stabilizing patients for long-distance evacuation. The training emphasized that in special operations environments, the medic often served as the primary medical authority for extended periods. The integration of her various skills reached its culmination during the final training exercise, a week-long scenario that tested every aspect of her development. Sarah was assigned to a simulated special operations team conducting a complex mission in realistic terrain. The exercise included multiple medical emergencies, enemy contacts requiring precise marksmanship, and leadership challenges that tested her ability to make critical decisions under pressure. Throughout the exercise, Sarah demonstrated the transformation that 6 months of intensive training had produced. She moved with the confidence of a seasoned operator, transitioning seamlessly between her medical responsibilities and tactical requirements. When team members were wounded during a simulated ambush, she provided life-saving care while directing defensive fires. When the team's designated marksman was incapacitated, she assumed his role without missing a beat, engaging targets with the precision that had become her trademark. The exercise culminated with a scenario that would prove prophetic given future events. Sarah's simulated team was pinned down by enemy forces in mountainous terrain, with multiple wounded teammates and limited options for escape or reinforcement. She was forced to use every skill she had developed: medical expertise to keep wounded teammates alive, marksmanship skills to suppress enemy positions, and leadership abilities to coordinate the team's response to a desperate situation. Her performance during this final test impressed the evaluating instructors so completely that they recommended her for immediate assignment to an active SEAL team. This recommendation was unusual. Most graduates of the program were assigned to support units or underwent additional specialized training before joining operational teams. Sarah's unique combination of skills, demonstrated competence, and exceptional performance under pressure marked her as ready for immediate integration into Special Operations Forces. The graduation ceremony was a small, understated affair that reflected the nature of Special Operations culture. There were no crowds of family members, no elaborate speeches, and no public recognition. Sarah received her completion certificate and new assignment orders in a simple ceremony attended only by her instructors and fellow graduates. The subdued nature of the event belied its significance. She was now qualified to serve with the most elite units in the American military. Her assignment to SEAL Team 7 came with mixed reactions from the team members who would become her new teammates. While everyone acknowledged her impressive qualifications and training record, there remained an underlying skepticism about how a relatively inexperienced operator would perform in real combat situations. The SEAL community was notoriously demanding in its standards and skeptical of anyone who had not yet proven themselves under fire. Sarah understood the dynamics she was entering and approached her new assignment with characteristic humility and determination. She knew that no amount of training could fully prepare her for the reality of combat operations, and that she would need to prove herself to teammates whose lives might depend on her competence. The stage was set for the real test of everything she had learned and become during her transformation from small-town nursing student to special operations medic. As Sarah prepared to join SEAL Team 7, she carried with her not just advanced medical and tactical skills, but a quiet confidence that had been forged through months of demanding training. She was no longer the uncertain young woman who had first arrived at the training center. The grueling program had revealed capabilities she didn't know she possessed and prepared her for challenges she couldn't yet imagine. The team she was about to join was preparing for deployment to Afghanistan, where ongoing operations against insurgent forces required the specialized capabilities that SEAL teams brought to the fight. Sarah's arrival would mark the beginning of relationships and experiences that would ultimately lead to a moment of crisis in the mountains of Afghanistan, where all of her training and natural abilities would be tested in ways that no exercise could replicate. SEAL Team 7's compound in Virginia Beach was a world unto itself, isolated from the civilian population and civilian concerns by high fences, security checkpoints, and a culture that outsiders could never fully understand. When Sarah arrived for her first day with the team, she was acutely aware that she was entering a brotherhood that had been forged through shared hardships, mutual dependence, and standards that left no room for weakness or pretense. The team leader, Lieutenant Commander Jake Rodriguez, was a man whose reputation preceded him throughout the special operations community. A veteran of multiple deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, he had earned the respect of his peers through decisive leadership and an unwavering commitment to bringing his people home alive. His initial assessment of Sarah was polite but reserved. He would judge her based on performance rather than credentials, and no amount of training certificates could substitute for proven competence in the field. Sarah's teammates represented a cross-section of American military excellence. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Thompson was the team's senior enlisted leader, a man whose calm demeanor masked an intelligence network that extended throughout the special operations community. Petty Officer First Class Danny Chen served as the team's communications specialist, responsible for maintaining contact with higher headquarters and coordinating support during operations. Petty Officer Second Class Alex Rodriguez handled explosives and breaching operations, skills that often proved critical during direct action missions. The team's designated marksman was Petty Officer First Class Mike Sullivan, a soft-spoken man from Montana whose precision with a rifle had become legendary within the SEAL community. His Barrett .50 caliber rifle was his signature weapon, a tool he had used to eliminate threats at distances that challenged the limits of human marksmanship. Sullivan's quiet confidence and unflappable demeanor under pressure had earned him the respect of his teammates and the trust that came with being their long-range precision specialist. Sarah's integration into the team began with a series of training exercises designed to assess her capabilities and establish her role within the group dynamic. The first exercise was a standard medical scenario involving multiple casualties with varying degrees of injury. Her teammates watched with professional interest as Sarah methodically triaged the simulated patients, prioritized treatment based on clinical assessment, and managed resources efficiently while maintaining awareness of the tactical situation around her. Her medical performance impressed even the most skeptical team members. Sarah's procedures were textbook perfect, but, more importantly, she demonstrated the kind of calm competence under pressure that inspired confidence in others. When the exercise was modified to include simulated enemy contact, she continued her medical work without losing focus, transitioning smoothly to defensive positions when required and returning to patient care when the immediate threat was neutralized. The marksmanship assessment that followed generated considerable interest among her teammates. Sarah's reputation as an exceptional shooter had preceded her, but SEAL team members were accustomed to inflated claims about individual capabilities. They approached her weapons evaluation with the healthy skepticism that professional warriors applied to any unproven claims. The shooting course was designed to test precision, speed, and adaptability under various conditions. Targets were placed at distances ranging from close quarters to extended ranges that challenged even experienced marksmen. Weather conditions were less than ideal, with gusty winds and intermittent rain that affected bullet trajectory and visibility. Sarah approached the challenge with her characteristic methodical preparation, taking time to assess conditions and adjust her equipment accordingly. Her first shot group at 300 meters immediately captured the attention of everyone present. The 5 rounds clustered in a pattern so tight that Sullivan later joked he could have covered it with a quarter. As the range extended to 500 and then 800 meters, Sarah's performance remained consistent, demonstrating the kind of precision that typically required years of specialized training to develop. Sullivan, initially skeptical of claims about Sarah's marksmanship abilities, found himself genuinely impressed by her shooting technique. Her breathing control was flawless, her trigger manipulation precise, and her ability to read environmental conditions rivaled his own hard-earned expertise. More importantly, she demonstrated the mental discipline required for precision shooting, the ability to maintain focus and execute perfect technique even when external pressures mounted. The team's assessment of Sarah shifted significantly during a complex training scenario that combined medical responsibilities with tactical challenges. The exercise simulated a direct action mission that went wrong, with multiple team members wounded and enemy forces closing in on their position. Sarah was required to manage medical emergencies while contributing to the team's defensive efforts and coordinating evacuation procedures. During this scenario, Sarah's performance revealed capabilities that extended far beyond medical expertise. When communications with higher headquarters were disrupted, she quickly established alternative contact methods using backup equipment. When the team's planned extraction route was compromised, she contributed to tactical planning with insights that demonstrated thorough understanding of operational considerations beyond her primary medical role. Her teammates began to recognize that Sarah brought more to the team than exceptional medical skills and marksmanship ability. Her analytical mind, honed by years of academic excellence and medical training, proved valuable for problem-solving under pressure. Her calm demeanor and methodical approach to challenges provided a stabilizing influence during chaotic situations. Most importantly, her willingness to take on responsibilities beyond her assigned role demonstrated the kind of team-first attitude that SEAL culture valued above individual achievements. The transformation in team dynamics became apparent during social interactions outside of formal training. Initially, Sarah had been treated with polite distance, included in professional activities but not yet accepted into the informal brotherhood that bound the team together. Gradually, this began to change as her teammates recognized that her competence was matched by genuine humility and dedication to team success rather than personal recognition. Sullivan became her unofficial mentor in advanced marksmanship techniques, sharing knowledge gained through years of combat experience and specialized training. He taught her to read atmospheric conditions with greater precision, to understand the ballistic characteristics of different ammunition types, and to maintain equipment for peak performance under field conditions. Their training sessions revealed a mutual respect between professionals who shared similar standards of excellence. Chief Thompson began including Sarah in leadership discussions that traditionally involved only senior enlisted personnel. Her medical background provided unique insights into operational planning, particularly regarding casualty management and evacuation procedures. Her ability to think systematically about complex problems proved valuable when developing contingency plans for various mission scenarios. The team's confidence in Sarah was tested during a major training exercise that brought together multiple special operations units for a complex scenario lasting several days. SEAL Team 7 was assigned a challenging mission involving infiltration of a heavily defended target, capture of high-value individuals, and extraction under hostile conditions. Sarah's role extended beyond traditional medical support to include intelligence gathering, communication support, and tactical planning contributions. During the exercise, Sarah's performance validated her teammates' growing confidence in her capabilities. When the team's primary communications equipment was damaged during the infiltration phase, she quickly reconfigured backup systems to maintain contact with supporting elements. When unexpected enemy reinforcements complicated the extraction plan, she contributed to the tactical assessment that led to a successful alternative approach. Her medical skills were tested when a teammate suffered a training injury that required immediate intervention. Sarah's calm competence while treating a genuine emergency, rather than a simulated scenario, demonstrated that her abilities translated seamlessly from training environments to real-world situations. Her teammates noted that she maintained the same methodical approach and steady demeanor whether dealing with training scenarios or actual medical emergencies. The exercise culminated with a scenario that challenged every aspect of the team's capabilities. Multiple objectives had to be achieved simultaneously while managing wounded personnel, enemy contact, and equipment failures that tested individual skills and team cohesion. Sarah's contribution during this complex situation extended far beyond her designated role as team medic. When Sullivan's primary weapon system malfunctioned during a critical engagement, Sarah provided precise supporting fire that allowed the team to maintain tactical advantage while he switched to backup equipment. Her shooting during this engagement, conducted under stress and with lives potentially at stake, demonstrated that her marksmanship skills remained reliable under the most demanding conditions. Following the successful completion of the exercise, Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez conducted individual assessments with each team member. His evaluation of Sarah's performance marked a significant milestone in her integration into SEAL Team 7. He noted that she had not only met the standards expected of special operations medical personnel but had exceeded expectations in areas that extended far beyond her primary specialization. Rodriguez's recommendation for Sarah to deploy with the team to Afghanistan represented the ultimate validation of her capabilities and character. SEAL Team deployments were not routine assignments. They involved months of operations in hostile territory where mistakes could have fatal consequences. The decision to include Sarah in the upcoming deployment reflected complete confidence in her ability to contribute to mission success while maintaining the high standards that SEAL operations demanded. The team's preparation for deployment intensified following the successful completion of their major training exercise. Sarah found herself fully integrated into planning sessions, equipment preparations, and specialized training activities that would prepare them for the unique challenges of operating in Afghanistan. The camaraderie that had gradually developed during stateside training now included her completely, reflecting acceptance that had been earned through demonstrated competence and unwavering commitment to team success. As deployment preparations continued, Sarah couldn't know that her growing expertise with precision rifles and her deepening integration into the team would soon become critically important in ways that no training exercise could predict. The skills she had developed and the trust she had earned would be tested in the mountains of Afghanistan, where a routine mission would go catastrophically wrong and her teammates' lives would depend on abilities she was still discovering within herself. The foundation had been laid through months of training, evaluation, and gradual acceptance into one of the military's most elite units. Sarah had proven herself worthy of the trust that her teammates placed in her, and they had demonstrated that they valued her contributions beyond her formal medical responsibilities. The stage was set for deployment to a combat zone where all of these relationships and capabilities would face their ultimate test in an environment where there was no margin for error and second chances were rarely granted. The transport aircraft carrying SEAL Team 7 descended through the thin mountain air of eastern Afghanistan as dawn broke over the Hindu Kush Mountains. Sarah pressed her face against the small window, watching the dramatic landscape unfold below, jagged peaks that rose like ancient spears from deep valleys, terrain that had challenged invading armies for thousands of years and now served as sanctuary for insurgent forces determined to resist American military operations. Bagram Air Base buzzed with the controlled chaos that characterized major military installations in active war zones. Transport aircraft arrived and departed continuously, bringing supplies, reinforcements, and equipment while evacuating wounded personnel and those whose tours of duty had ended. The constant activity reflected the intensity of operations throughout Afghanistan, where American and coalition forces were engaged in a complex counterinsurgency campaign against Taliban and al-Qaeda elements. SEAL Team 7's forward operating base was located in Kunar Province, a mountainous region along the Pakistan border where insurgent activity remained high despite years of military operations. The base itself was a collection of reinforced structures surrounded by defensive barriers, guard towers, and sophisticated surveillance systems designed to detect any approaching threats. The austere conditions reflected the remote location and hostile environment where the team would conduct operations for the next 6 months. Sarah's first weeks in Afghanistan involved a gradual acclimatization to combat zone operations. The team conducted reconnaissance missions, direct action raids, and intelligence gathering operations that introduced her to the realities of counterinsurgency warfare. The enemy they faced was experienced, well-armed, and thoroughly familiar with terrain that provided natural advantages for defensive operations and guerrilla tactics. Her medical skills were tested repeatedly during these initial operations. Improvised explosive devices, small arms fire, and indirect fire attacks created a steady stream of casualties requiring immediate intervention. Sarah found that her training had prepared her well for the clinical aspects of combat medicine, but nothing could have fully prepared her for the emotional challenges of treating young Americans whose lives had been shattered by enemy action. The first time she treated a soldier whose legs had been destroyed by an IED explosion, Sarah discovered reserves of professional composure she didn't know she possessed. While her heart broke for the wounded warrior, her hands remained steady as she applied tourniquets, started intravenous lines, and coordinated evacuation procedures that would save his life. Her teammates noted that she maintained the same methodical approach and clinical detachment that characterized the best combat medics, never allowing emotional reactions to compromise medical care. Sarah's marksmanship skills proved valuable during several contact situations where precision fire was required to neutralize threats without risking civilian casualties. The urban and mountainous terrain of eastern Afghanistan often placed friendly forces in close proximity to non-combatants, requiring discriminating use of firepower that eliminated legitimate targets while protecting innocent civilians. Sarah's ability to place shots with surgical precision made her an asset during these delicate tactical situations. During one particularly challenging operation, the team was tasked with capturing a high-value target in a remote mountain village suspected of harboring Taliban leadership. Intelligence indicated that the target was heavily defended and prepared to resist capture using tactics that might endanger nearby civilians. Sarah's role during the operation extended beyond medical support to include precision shooting in support of the capture mission. The operation began with a helicopter insertion several kilometers from the target village, followed by a difficult approach march through mountainous terrain that tested everyone's physical conditioning and navigation skills. Sarah carried her standard medical equipment plus additional ammunition and specialized gear that reflected her expanded role within the team. Her load was heavy, but months of training and her natural physical strength allowed her to maintain the pace set by her more experienced teammates. As the team approached the target village, surveillance revealed that intelligence estimates of enemy strength had been significantly understated. Instead of the handful of guards they had expected, observation posts and defensive positions indicated a much larger hostile force. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez faced the difficult decision of whether to abort the mission or proceed despite unfavorable odds. The decision to continue with the mission reflected the importance of the target and confidence in the team's capabilities. Sarah's role in the modified plan included providing precision fire support from an overwatch position while the rest of the team conducted the actual capture operation. Her position on a ridgeline overlooking the village would allow her to engage threats while maintaining visual contact with the assault element. Sarah's shooting position offered excellent fields of fire but also exposed her to potential counterattack if her location was discovered. She carefully constructed a concealed position using natural terrain features and camouflage materials, creating a hide site that would be difficult for enemy forces to detect even during daylight hours. Her preparation reflected training that emphasized the importance of remaining undetected while maintaining the ability to engage targets effectively. The assault on the village began before dawn, with the team moving silently through defensive positions that had been identified during surveillance. Sarah's overwatch position provided early warning of enemy movements and eliminated several sentries whose positions could have compromised the mission. Her shots were fired with suppressors that minimized sound signature, allowing her to eliminate threats without alerting other defenders to her presence. As the assault progressed, Sarah's medical expertise became critical when Chief Thompson was wounded by small arms fired during the initial breach. The bullet had penetrated his body armor at a point where ceramic plates provided minimal protection, causing significant internal bleeding that required immediate intervention. Sarah faced the difficult choice between maintaining her overwatch position and providing medical care to a wounded teammate. Her decision to abandon her shooting position to treat Thompson's wounds reflected the priorities that had been drilled into her during medical training. Immediate life-threatening injuries took precedence over tactical considerations. She moved quickly to Thompson's position under covering fire from other team members, carrying medical equipment that would be essential for stabilizing his condition until evacuation could be arranged. Sarah's treatment of Thompson's wounds under fire demonstrated the integration of medical and tactical skills that special operations demanded. She worked with one hand while maintaining a grip on her rifle with the other, ready to defend her patient and herself if enemy forces attempted to overrun their position. Her ability to maintain clinical focus while bullets impacted nearby reflected the stress inoculation training that had prepared her for exactly these kinds of situations. The successful stabilization of Thompson's condition allowed the operation to continue, but it also reduced the team's effective strength and complicated extraction plans. Sarah's dual role as medic and precision shooter became even more critical as the mission progressed, requiring her to transition rapidly between medical responsibilities and tactical requirements as situations developed. The capture of the primary target was successful, but intelligence gathered during the operation revealed that enemy reinforcements were moving toward the village from multiple directions. The team found itself facing a withdrawal under pressure, with a wounded teammate, a prisoner requiring secure handling, and superior enemy forces attempting to cut off their escape routes. Sarah's marksmanship skills became crucial during the team's fighting withdrawal from the target area. Enemy forces occupying elevated positions posed significant threats to the extraction helicopter, requiring precise fire to suppress hostile positions without expending excessive ammunition. Her shots eliminated key threats at ranges that challenged the capabilities of standard infantry weapons, providing the fire superiority needed for successful extraction. The helicopter extraction took place under intense enemy fire, with Sarah providing covering fire while simultaneously monitoring Thompson's medical condition during the flight to the forward operating base. Her ability to manage multiple critical responsibilities simultaneously reflected the versatility that special operations medical personnel needed to possess in order to function effectively in combat environments. Thompson's successful evacuation and eventual recovery validated Sarah's medical intervention during the mission, but the operation also revealed the level of enemy resistance that SEAL Team 7 could expect during future operations in Khyber province. Intelligence reports indicated increasing Taliban strength in the region, with well-equipped forces prepared to challenge American military operations using sophisticated tactics and weapons. Sarah's performance during her first major combat operation earned recognition from her teammates and higher headquarters, but, more importantly, it established her credibility as a fully capable member of an elite team. Her medical skills had saved a teammate's life, her marksmanship had contributed to mission success, and her composure under fire had demonstrated the mental toughness that SEAL operations demanded from every team member. As SEAL Team 7 prepared for their next mission, Sarah couldn't know that she was about to face the ultimate test of everything she had learned and become during her transformation from small-town nursing student to special operations warrior. The mission that would follow would push her capabilities to their absolute limits and create a moment that would define not only her own legacy but also demonstrate the extraordinary potential that existed within someone whom others had once dismissed as just a medic. The stage was set for an operation that would go catastrophically wrong, placing the entire team in mortal danger and requiring Sarah to make choices that would test every aspect of her character, training, and natural abilities. The mountains of Afghanistan were about to witness something unprecedented, a moment when the quiet medic from Nebraska would shock everyone, including herself, with a demonstration of skill and courage that would become legendary within the special operations community. The mission briefing for Operation Sledgehammer took place in the secure communications facility at the forward operating base, where digital maps displayed the mountainous terrain of the target area in precise detail. Intelligence had identified a Taliban compound in the Korangal Valley where high-ranking insurgent leaders were planning coordinated attacks against coalition forces throughout eastern Afghanistan. The location was remote, heavily defended, and situated in terrain that would challenge even the most experienced special operations teams. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez outlined the mission parameters with characteristic precision. SEAL Team 7 would conduct a helicopter insertion at night, approach the target compound on foot through difficult mountain terrain, capture or eliminate the insurgent leadership, and extract with any intelligence materials that could prevent future attacks. The operation required perfect coordination and flawless execution, as the team would be operating far from friendly forces in territory completely controlled by hostile elements. Sarah's role during the mission included her standard medical responsibilities plus specialized tasks that reflected her growing capabilities within the team. She would serve as backup communications specialist, carry additional ammunition for crew-served weapons, and provide precision fire support from designated overwatch positions. Her assignment reflected complete integration into team operations and confidence in her ability to contribute to mission success beyond traditional medical support. The helicopter insertion occurred during the early morning hours of a moonless night, with the aircraft flying nap of the Earth profiles to avoid detection by enemy surveillance. The mountainous terrain created challenging flight conditions that required exceptional pilot skills, but the insertion was completed without incident at a landing zone several kilometers from the target compound. SEAL Team 7 began their approach march through terrain that would test their navigation skills and physical endurance. The route to the target led through a series of steep ridgelines and narrow valleys that channeled movement and created potential ambush sites. The team moved silently through the darkness, using night vision equipment and careful route selection to avoid detection while maintaining the rapid pace needed to reach the objective before dawn. Sarah found herself drawing on every aspect of her physical conditioning as the team climbed through terrain that challenged even her exceptional fitness level. As the first hints of dawn appeared over the eastern peaks, SEAL Team 7 reached observation positions overlooking the target compound. Surveillance revealed that intelligence estimates had again understated enemy strength, with defensive positions and patrol patterns indicating a force significantly larger than anticipated. More concerning was evidence of recent reinforcement, suggesting that the Taliban leadership might have received warning of impending coalition operations. Rodriguez faced another difficult tactical decision as the team assessed the changed circumstances. The increased enemy strength made the original plan extremely risky, but the intelligence value of the target and the potential impact on coalition operations argued for proceeding despite unfavorable odds. The decision to continue reflected the aggressive mindset that characterized special operations forces and confidence in the team's ability to overcome superior numbers through superior training and tactics. The modified plan assigned Sarah to an overwatch position on a ridgeline that dominated the approach routes to the target compound. Her position would allow her to provide early warning of enemy reinforcements while delivering precision fires in support of the assault team. The assignment placed her in an isolated position where she would be responsible for protecting the team's flanks while they were most vulnerable during the compound assault. Sarah's overwatch position offered excellent observation and fields of fire, but it also placed her more than a kilometer from her teammates and beyond the range of immediate mutual support. She carried extra ammunition, additional medical supplies, and backup communications equipment that would allow her to function independently if circumstances required. Her preparation reflected understanding that the mission's success might depend on her ability to operate effectively while isolated from the rest of the team. The assault on the compound began with precision fires that eliminated key defensive positions and created the element of surprise needed for close-quarters combat. Sarah provided overwatch fires that prevented enemy reinforcements from reaching the compound while monitoring radio communications for calls for medical support or tactical assistance. Her position allowed her to observe the entire battlefield and coordinate with supporting elements that might be needed during extraction. The initial assault proceeded according to plan, with the team successfully breaching defensive perimeters and closing with the main compound buildings. Sarah's Overwatch fires had eliminated several potential threats and provided advance warning of enemy movements that allowed the assault team to maintain tactical advantage. Her medical expertise wasn't needed during the initial phases, allowing her to focus entirely on providing fire support and battlefield observation. Everything changed when the Taliban sprung a carefully planned ambush that had been designed specifically to counter American special operations tactics. Enemy forces that had been concealed in positions surrounding the compound opened fire simultaneously from multiple directions, creating a complex engagement that immediately placed SEAL Team 7 in extreme danger. The volume and precision of enemy fire indicated professional military training and coordination that exceeded typical insurgent capabilities. Sarah watched in horror from her Overwatch position as her teammates found themselves pinned down by converging fires that made movement impossible and threatened to overwhelm their defensive positions. The tactical situation deteriorated rapidly as enemy forces closed in from multiple directions, using covering fire and tactical movement that demonstrated sophisticated planning and execution. Radio communications filled with urgent calls for supporting fires and medical assistance. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez was the first to fall, struck by a sniper's bullet that came from a position Sarah couldn't identify from her location. She watched through her rifle scope as he collapsed behind inadequate cover, blood spreading across his uniform from wounds that appeared to be immediately life-threatening. The team's leader was down, and the tactical situation was spiraling beyond their ability to control through standard procedures. Sullivan moved to assist Rodriguez but was immediately engaged by multiple enemy positions that forced him to take cover behind a low stone wall that provided minimal protection. Sarah could see muzzle flashes from at least 6 different enemy positions, all focused on the small area where her teammates were trapped. The coordinated nature of the ambush and the precision of enemy fire suggested that this had been a carefully planned trap rather than an opportunistic engagement. Chief Thompson attempted to establish radio contact with supporting aircraft while providing suppressive fire against the nearest enemy positions. Sarah heard his increasingly desperate calls for immediate close air support, casualty evacuation, and any available reinforcements that could help extract the team from their deteriorating situation. The responses he received indicated that weather conditions had grounded aircraft and that ground reinforcements were hours away from reaching their location. The situation reached a critical point when Sullivan was struck by enemy fire while attempting to engage the sniper position that had wounded Rodriguez. The team's primary marksman collapsed next to his Barrett .50 caliber rifle, clutching his shoulder as blood flowed between his fingers. Sarah could see that he was badly wounded and unable to continue fighting, leaving the team without their most effective long-range precision capability. Sarah faced a decision that would define not only her own fate but potentially determine whether any of her teammates survived the ambush. Her Overwatch position was relatively secure, and she could remain hidden while calling for support and hoping that relief forces would arrive before her teammates were overrun. Alternatively, she could abandon her position to join the fight directly, accepting the risks that movement across open terrain would entail while potentially gaining the ability to provide more effective assistance. Her decision came instinctively, driven by training that emphasized the medical oath to preserve life and the warrior ethos that demanded commitment to teammates above personal safety. Sarah began moving towards Sullivan's position, using terrain features and tactical movement techniques to cross the dangerous ground between her Overwatch position and the location where her teammates were pinned down. The movement across exposed terrain while under enemy observation required every tactical skill she had learned during her training. Sarah used available cover, moved during periods when enemy attention was focused elsewhere, and timed her movement to coincide with covering fire from her teammates. The 800-meter movement took nearly 30 minutes of careful stalking through terrain that offered minimal concealment. Sarah reached Sullivan's position during a lull in enemy fire, sliding into cover behind the stone wall where he had taken refuge. His wounds were serious but not immediately life-threatening, allowing him to provide crucial information about enemy positions and the tactical situation that had developed during her movement. Most importantly, he pointed toward his Barrett .50 caliber rifle and made a request that would change everything. Sullivan explained that the enemy sniper who had wounded Rodriguez was positioned in a location that dominated the entire area where the team was trapped. The sniper's position was approximately 1,200 meters from their current location, at the extreme range of the Barrett rifle's effective capabilities. Sullivan's wounds prevented him from making the shot himself, and no other team member had the specialized training needed to engage targets at such extended ranges. Sarah understood immediately what Sullivan was asking her to do. The Barrett .50 caliber rifle was a precision instrument capable of engaging targets at distances that challenged even experienced marksmen. The shot he was describing would require perfect technique, exact range estimation, and precise compensation for environmental factors including wind, temperature, and atmospheric pressure. More importantly, it would require the kind of mental discipline that allowed absolute focus despite chaos and mortal danger. Her hands were steady as she took control of the massive rifle, checking its condition and preparing for a shot that would test every aspect of her marksmanship training. The Barrett felt different from the weapons she was accustomed to using, heavier, more powerful, and capable of delivering devastating effects at ranges that seemed impossible for individual weapons. Sullivan provided crucial information about the rifle's zero settings and ballistic characteristics while she prepared for the most important shot of her life. Sarah's target acquisition process required several minutes of careful observation through the rifle's powerful scope. The enemy sniper's position was partially concealed behind rocks and vegetation that provided excellent camouflage and protection from return fire. She could identify the muzzle flash signature and general location, but achieving a precise sight picture on a human target at 1,200 meters required patience and technique that few marksmen possessed. Environmental factors complicated the shot significantly. Crosswinds at various elevations would affect bullet trajectory in ways that required complex calculations and educated estimation. Temperature and atmospheric pressure differed from the conditions where the rifle had been zeroed, requiring additional adjustments that tested her understanding of external ballistics. Most challenging was the need to make these calculations quickly while her teammates remained under fire and enemy forces continued to close their positions. Sarah's breathing settled into the controlled rhythm that preceded precision shooting, her heart rate slowing despite the adrenaline and stress that accompanied the life-or-death situation. Her sight picture stabilized on the area where she estimated the enemy sniper's position to be, waiting for the brief moment when target identification and firing conditions would align perfectly. The shot would require absolute precision, there would be no opportunity for correction or follow-up engagement. The moment arrived when the enemy sniper shifted position slightly, exposing enough of his silhouette for Sarah to achieve positive target identification. Her finger pressure on the trigger increased gradually until the rifle fired, the massive .50 caliber bullet beginning its journey across the mountainous terrain toward a target that appeared as little more than a shadow through her scope. The recoil was tremendous, but Sarah maintained her sight picture long enough to observe the bullet's impact. The enemy sniper's position exploded in a shower of rock and debris as the massive bullet struck home with devastating effect. The threat that had dominated the battlefield and prevented her teammates from moving was eliminated instantly, creating the tactical opportunity needed to begin extracting from their desperate situation. Sarah's shot had not only neutralized a critical threat but had demonstrated marksmanship capabilities that amazed even Sullivan, whose own reputation as a precision marksman was legendary within the special operations community. The successful elimination of the enemy sniper marked the turning point in a battle that had seemed hopeless only minutes earlier. With the primary threat neutralized, SEAL Team 7 was able to begin tactical movement toward extraction points while Sarah provided continued overwatch fires using Sullivan's rifle. Her subsequent shots eliminated additional threats at ranges that established her as one of the most capable precision marksmen in the special operations community. The team's extraction occurred under continued enemy pressure, but Sarah's precision fires prevented hostile forces from effectively engaging the extraction helicopter. Her ability to maintain accurate shooting while coordinating medical care for wounded teammates and managing communications with supporting elements demonstrated the versatility and mental toughness that defined exceptional special operations personnel. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez survived his wounds because of immediate medical intervention that Sarah provided during the extraction. Chief Thompson and Sullivan both recovered from their injuries and returned to active duty, carrying with them the memory of a mission where their lives had been saved by someone whom others had once dismissed as just a medic. The successful completion of Operation Sledgehammer became legendary within the special operations community, not just for its tactical success but for the extraordinary marksmanship and courage demonstrated by an unexpected hero. Sarah Mitchell's transformation from small-town nursing student to special operations legend was complete. Her shot at 1,200 meters under combat conditions entered the annals of military marksmanship history, but, more importantly, it demonstrated that excellence could emerge from the most unlikely places and that true warriors were defined not by their backgrounds but by their actions when everything was at stake. She had proven that sometimes the person everyone underestimates becomes the one who saves them all, shocking everyone including herself with capabilities she never knew she possessed.